Sure. I'll talk it out.
Yeah, let's just have a conversation.
Track 3.
Better not be fucking Dave Matthews Band.
Okay. Those of you who don't want to be a part of this can leave now.
Derek, please listen to me.
But if you choose to stay, which it seems like you guys are choosing,
Derek, please.
you understand and agree to the following terms and conditions.
Derek!
1.
Derek, this is the virus.
You hereby waive your right
Derek, please.
to your own personal bodily integrity.
This is not you.
2.
I'm a life.
Per the State versus Neville Reed, my colleague and I will not be held criminally liable for any felony or misdemeanor that you may be a victim of, including, but not limited to, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, disorderly conduct, destruction of property, mayhem, and first-degree murder. And 3, terms and conditions may change or be updated whenever the fuck I want! Consider yourselves notified.
What up, everyone? DJ Anubis here with you on the Metal Tavern Radio podcast with my special guest and co-host tonight, the Sci-Fi Sentry. Sir, thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
we are going to discuss... What's that?
Always appreciate the invite, man.
Yep. We're going to be discussing Castlevania Nocturne, the new Netflix series that's out. If you don't know, Sentry and I and a few others of our nice little sci-fi society enjoyed the first installment of the Castlevania series, the original one, and now we have the new one up. And I'll let you kick it all off. What are we dealing with here? What is this all about? And you can set us up.
Well, I'll just, since I have history with the video games and the lore, this new series for Castlevania Nocturne is based off of, I'm not going to say all, but some story lines from the game Castlevania Rondo of Blood, and it also adds a character and some references to Castlevania. I think it's I don't know if it's Aria of Sorrow. It might be Aria of Sorrow, and yeah, they kind of switched everything up. A lot of there's some characters here that are not the actual characters that were in the original video games. So it's just to start it off. It starts off with Richter Belmont and his mom, Julia Belmont, who's also very powerful vampire hunter. But the crazy thing is, she is a magic user. She because of past events that happened in the original Castlevania, the bloodlines intermingled with, of course, Trevor and Sypha, and now the Belmonts are not just stuck on using axes, whips, blades, flying crucifixes or boomerang crucifixes. They've actually evolved and were able to implement magical ways of battling vampires and stuff. So, and just to add, we start off with Richter, Julia, and Allrox. So Allrox is very, very interesting character in this series, and it just starts off with the battle, and there's a history also between Julia and Allrox. Yep, right there. Very enigmatic vampire, and he's also from a reference from and a character from the original series Castlevania Symphony of the Night. So I'm glad they added him. And then Julia, I don't think. To be honest, I was gonna do my research a little sooner, but I was like, you know what, I got caught up. But I don't think Julia. I think Julia is. I mean, I don't think she's a major or even an actual character. I think she was, made for just this series. But I might be wrong. Anybody in the comments or anybody watching, let me know. But yeah, it's her and Allrox. They have a history, and poor Richter had to be in the middle of all of this stuff, and then this is how it all starts off. A great battle. You see that Allrox is not just he's not just an ordinary vampire. He
Yeah.
is a highly powerful, more of a shapeshifter type of vampire. And yeah, man, that's just the few references that I'll give, and then I'll pass it on back to you, Anubis, for that one.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like you said, this is actually a really great opening episode for the series. Richter's a young kid at this point, but he's being molded already to be a vampire hunter. But he's also got this very sense of arrogance and cockiness about him, which is very dangerous and actually kind of leads to his mother dying. I hate to say he's actually the cause of it, but because she didn't want to have to worry about protecting him and fighting Allrox. So basically, she's like, you need to run, get to the ship, and get out of here. But the kid is like, he's like confident his mom's going to win, which technically she probably would have. She was whipping Allrox's ass for a while.
Yeah,
But as you said, Allrox is not your ordinary vampire. He can shapeshift. He turned into like some sort, almost like the flying snake from Kong and Godzilla. Almost, he looks so similar to that. It's a big ass snake, very dangerous. And then of course, when he starts kind of getting the better of Julia, Richter starts trying to step in as a kid, but his powers are not even close to being ready to take on somebody like Allrox. And then eventually, Julia succumbs to Allrox and dies. This is the interesting thing about Allrox, as you pointed out, is that he's not your standard vampire in a lot of different ways. He's old. He's very experienced in fighting. He's killed many hunters, and he's also someone that we find out later on. He's almost indifferent to both the vampire world and humans. Like, he has his own agenda. Basically, he walks to his own beat of his own drum.
yeah,
And in this case, he could have easily killed Richter as a kid, but he's like, you're not ready. I guess he kind of likes a challenge, so he's like, I'll see you down the road, and
yeah,
leaves him be. Kind of leaves and says, here, you're gonna wallow in this sorrow because I've been there. I watched as Julia killed my partner, because that's one reason why Allrox was hunting her, because of that. And that sets up the whole thing to where it kind of fast forwards to 1792, and Richter's older. He's been raised by a woman named Tara Renard, who's also a magic user, and her daughter is Maria, who is also a magic user. So Maria and Richter kind of grew up together, and they're both like vampire hunters and all this stuff. So by the time I get to sort of like they're at this campfire and they're congregating with some rebels, because there's some stuff going on in the city nearby, between, again, always the religious sect is always a big part of this with the vampires and whatnot. So we have what are basically rebels. They're trying to gather them up and sort of secretly get these people to understand that there's a danger with these vampires and stuff, and then they're attacked. And most of them are fleeing because they aren't really hunters at all, but they're just terrified. But Maria and Richter fight them off and have success. And you see Richter is like really good with the whip. He's seasoned, but we find out a little bit later on some stuff about him too. Now, as we get into the second episode, we're introduced to a woman named Drolta, and she's a fucking badass as a vampire. She's really, really a badass. In fact, I think at one point towards the end, like, she shapeshifts into her other form, and it's like almost like a succubus. Almost, it was kind of interesting.
yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, so and then we start. So remind me, this is taking place. Is this after the Dracula stuff or before?
Oh no, this is this is way after. This is about 300 years after what happened in the previous Castlevania,
Okay,
and yeah, it's during the French Revolution,
right.
and I think it's 1782 or 1783, I think it is. And yeah, that's another thing about Konami and the Castlevania games and the lore. They like to really stage the background. They like to go into historical piece, let's say historical pieces of time, like what happened in medieval. The first one, it was more medieval times, and then this time it's the French Revolution, and then when it came to Castlevania Bloodlines, that was like I think a little bit further, maybe in the 1800s. Close to like the Western days when in other words, more based on American because they what I like about even though it's a Japanese style game, they put pieces of history from America,
Right.
Europe, China, Japan, everything like that. So
Yeah, and so at this point, we the one thing that's been common, at least with the first series too, now going into this one, is Drolta is trying to create basically, or at least has like a forge master. We learned about what these were in the first Castlevania series. They could take corpses and make night demons and stuff like that to fight on their behalf. So that's continuing on here with Drolta finding Forge Master to do this, and actually Richter and Maria end up coming across these creatures for the first time, and they don't really know what they are, and they're harder to defeat than the vampires they've faced before. So Drolta, of course, and this is, I kind of asked you a few days back about, because I kind of at first thought Drolta was supposed to be the Messiah or our main villain, which is Elizabeth Bathory, basically, and she's not the same. She's just like the right hand lady to Elizabeth Bathory. So we're starting to hear the rumors about the Messiah, I guess, as they call her, and so there's a lot going on. We find out more about Tara, because they get back to the shack where she's living, and there's talks about the night demons and stuff like that. So what did you feel about Drolta and the second episode?
I mean, that second episode was great, or even before that. And I just wanted to add, before the first episode ended, that's where we're introduced to Annette and Edward. And
Yep.
Edward, yeah, and yeah, it was the second episode was good because, like I said, like you said, they introduced Drolta Swintis, and she's the attack dog for Elizabeth. Yeah, there you go. Yep. One, that's some good looking chocolate right there. But what do you call it? But it's they're talking about Ursa. What I like about this reference is that she's Elizabeth Batteries. That's what they call her in the series. She's a reference to a real life Hungarian countess who was a serial killer. So it was a great reference and a great addition. And she's the so-called Messiah, or and she goes back to history as far as even to Egyptian, to the time of the Egyptians, which is because Sekhmet is an Egyptian god. So it's pretty crazy, man. But I thought it was. I
like that tie-in with the Egyptian mythology. That was really cool. I really liked that part of it.
First thing I thought was Queen of the Damned. I was like, no freaking way. I was like, okay, Queen of the Damned. I was like, okay, because Drolta kind of has that look of Aaliyah, God rest her soul. Kind of looked like the look of Aaliyah. But yeah, man. But it was an overall good second episode, and they get more into Annette and Edward. And just to say this before I pass it back to you, Annette actually wasn't African in the lore. She was actually Caucasian, and she was the damsel in distress in the game. But here, I really like how they changed her up and they made her into somewhat of a not witch, but kind of like also a sorceress, but uses magic. But and they referenced the some African deities. So it's
Yeah.
pretty crazy, man. It's pretty crazy. But that's what I thought about it. That's what I thought about it.
Yeah, so as you pointed out at the end of the first episode, we're introduced to Annette and Edward, and Edward's actually an opera singer,
Yeah,
and Annette was a slave who was enslaved by this vampire, Valmak, or
LeBlanc,
I forget.
Yeah,
Yeah,
LeBlanc. Yeah,
Valmak, or something like that. And so as we said, we get into the second episode a little bit. We learn more of the history of Tara because she is familiar with Elizabeth Bathory, because her sister was a victim of Elizabeth Bathory, and she fled to get away from her and everything. So she's very aware of who that is, and that's of course who Annette and Edward are warning of, because they got like a vision to seek out Richter from a seer.
yeah,
And so this is how everyone's kind of learning what's going on. So Val Blanc, who was the slave owner, is now where they are. So when Annette sees them, she's getting really pissed. Like she wants
yeah,
instant revenge and to go out and kill him. But because they tried to surprise everyone, I guess at the chateau is what they called it,
yeah,
where a lot of the vampires were all housed. And even though Bathory isn't there yet, they're basically trying to sneak attack in there, but they realize that they're overwhelmed, and it's actually a very cool scene, the fighting, because obviously you've got vampires that are trying to circle around them. I think Nick can take stone and metal and make it into weapons, which is very
yeah.
cool. Earth can be like bridges, so she can take like rock and stuff and create bridges over water. But then, of course, are we going to give away any spoilers? Or are we going to avoid it?
Just spoilers, bro. Let them have it, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff you're going to learn anyway, so it's not really that big a deal. But Edward is not able to get out in time. He's caught from behind, and he's bitten and everything. Then, of course, Annette's devastated. This is one of her closest friends, someone who looked out for her and helped her. She really wants to go back and get him, but the rest of the crew with Richter and Maria, they're like, there's just no way he's alive. It's not happening. He was caught and everything. So, but we find out that as a viewer, we find out Edward's body is being used by the Forge Master now to create another demon. And it's pretty interesting. He's got obviously limbs, but then he has like these hands that are up here around his eyes. And he still, weirdly enough, still kind of sings. Not right away because he's more of a beast than a human at that point. But as we get into the third episode, and I guess I'll let you talk about it here because again, they want to go back after Edward to try to free him and see if he's alive or whatever. So go ahead and pick it up from there.
Yeah. So when I start with episode 3, they're going back to now, since Edward has been taken and everything. And what's up, Jake Hall? What's up, Jedi Granville? What's up, everybody, for being there? This is the backstory we see of Annette. How she was part of a plantation of LeBlanc, was very just a freaking sadistic plantation owner, and how she became part of the god of iron and war of Ogun, and really talks about her backstory. And then I wanted to go back just to Maria real quick. That what I like about Maria is that Maria Renard, she's definitely from the lore and from Rondo of Blood, and I love how she uses mystical animals from the other world to do her battles and use them as weapons and everything. Oh, and Little Gamera came out. I don't know if you noticed. Little snapping turtle that she used as a shield. I don't know if you noticed, man. Just wanted to throw a little Gamera reference right there. So Maria definitely from the video game and from the lore. So I'm glad that they really did her some justice. So, so they're basically just talking about what happened with Annette and her very, very brutal backstory as a slave, and going to they actually were able to liberate where they were staying, which was, I think, Saint Domingue, and then in the Caribbean islands. And then They go back. Her teacher actually has a vision about Elizabeth. So
Yep.
Elizabeth is just the last kind of evil anybody would want, rather if it was across the United States and the Caribbean, Europe. So she sees a vision, and then she automatically tells Annette to go to Europe and try to try to battle this thing. And yeah, it was a really good episode, man. How they just give the emphasis on Annette's backstory, and Annette was totally changed, man. And I just to let people know who are watching, a lot of people are giving shit to the writers and to a lot of the production because Annette was not she was not African. She was not African. She was not black. She was a purple haired Caucasian girl. So I don't know why all these dudes are getting their panties in a bunch. These freaking older guys that are probably like in their freaking how can I say it, man? They're like probably like in their 60s and they're really loving the games, man. But they're really like, oh, why do you change it up to lore? It's like, dude, I mean, you got to make it interesting. You got to change it up. I mean, why would I want a damsel in distress freaking as my backup for tacky vampires? You know what I
Right.
mean? But yeah, man. But
Yeah.
it's just but yeah. So far, that was the what I really liked about episode 3, man.
Yep. Yeah, and also in episode 3, we kind of get introduced to basically the leader of the church, which is Mizrak, and he's actually working with Elizabeth Bathory as an alliance, and so it's kind of like a sneaky thing that no one really knows about. And when Allrox arrives, he informs Mizrak like, "Look, you might be working with Bathory now, but she's gonna turn on you. just wait." Like he's already warning her about or warning him about the dangers of working with Bathory to try to quell the rebellion and everything else. So it's really weird how Mizrak is like so worried about the rebellion, but less worried about the vampires. It's really crazy to me, but that it just shows his craziness in the church and everything else. So, uh, we learned from the first series that was out a couple of years ago that the church has played a big part in being an antagonist to the vampires. Like it's almost like you feel empathy for vampires in a lot of ways, especially with Dracula. We kind of felt that with what was going on with him and the wife and everything else. So we kind of understood what the war was about. And then here, of course, again, like the church seems to be ignoring the biggest threat that they have for the smallest threat, and that is like basically keeping the people as sheeple.
Yep.
And so it's really kind of interesting how that's all playing out. We also learn that there's a point where Nat and them are fighting more night creatures, and Edward shows up. She doesn't know it right away, but she says, something to the effect of like, "I see it in his eyes. That's Edward." Like, everyone else is like, "You're full of shit." It's like that's not him. And she's like, "No, I could tell it's him." And he actually had saved her. He like killed another one of the night creatures to let her go. And so that kind of reinforced her idea that Edward is now one of these creatures. So now as we kind of flow into the episode 4, so now we are like planning as a group with Richter, Maria, Annette, and them. They start suspecting that Emmanuel and the church and Mizrak and all them are all like in league with the vampires. So now it's like, we have to kind of find out for sure if this is what's going on, because this is bad news for the rest of us if that's true. So they plan on kind of like sneaking down to the catacombs. I think Tara kind of had some, which we start finding out her backstory a little bit, or more of her backstory when she's like, "Yeah, I know another way into the church, like through the catacombs." And they're like, "Really? How do you know that?" And so she leads them down to the back end of that catacombs, and then I'm gonna turn it over to you. So at this point, what do you think about everything that's going on?
Yeah, she. Well, this is the part where I think Emmanuel and Tara already they already have a relationship outside of the church, outside of what people in or the public knows about them. And she like they're wondering, like even like Richter and Annette are like, and even Maria's like, how the hell did you know about this place? So it's like it's a coincidence, but it wasn't a coincidence to me because I was like, okay, I kind of already had I already had a bit of a idea about it, but like I said, we'll get to that in the fifth episode. But she leaves them. Tara leaves them in there. She's also, I forgot to say that she's referenced also as a speaker. So she was a speaker just like Cypher was. So that's really cool. And they go down there. She finally realizes like, oh no, it's you, Emmanuel. Why are you doing this? You know, I thought you're a man of God. You're an abbot. You're this and that, and you're actually going against everything you study for, you stand for, and everything like that. And then she's like, this is all because of you, and I can't believe I believed you and all this stuff. And then that's when Drolta shows up, and then one of the guys from the chateau, I forgot his name, he was also another slave owner, and he gets waxed by really quick by Richter. And then this is where Drolta shows, her muscle. She flexes her muscle when she's battling Annette, bro. And like Annette's struggling, and usually she's pretty seasoned with fighting vampires, and she's, she was struggling with her, man. And then right there, like, even Annette's like, what the hell? And then and then they show she actually goes and speaks to Edward and saying like, hey, you know what? I'll take you away from your pain and I'll do this. And Edward, no, this and that. And he keeps singing, which is crazy because he even keeps singing as a night creature. And it's even the Drolta on them before they got to the catacombs. They're all wondering like, what the hell is like. Is that coming from down? Is that coming from a night creature? Like, yeah. Is that supposed to happen? It's like, and they said we don't know, we don't know. But it was like, anyway, getting back to the back.
Like it's kind of new to them, like the whole night creature thing. Like they're still like, even though they're creating them, they don't know quite everything about them. So like, they don't realize that his singing is like something that's not normal. Like it's something that actually plays a part in convincing other night creatures to like kind of turn later on. So it is interesting that Drolta and the rest of them don't really quite have a certain grasp of how the night creatures are supposed to work. Whereas when we saw Dracula and them, they all knew exactly what the night creatures were for and what they did. So it's kind of interesting, yeah.
And here's one of your favorite parts, man, when freaking here's it before Richter waxes that freaking so-called aristocrat or whatever, like nothing. I'm surprised to see Maria and Tara like actually show their prowess as sorceresses and stuff, and they're they know about their magic, they know about this, they know about that. And Maria gets kind of slashed by Drolta, and then I don't know, the freaking that priest, bro. First thing that came to mind was the bishop from fucking first Castlevania. That was the first thing on my first thing. And then here's one of your favorite parts. I'm pretty sure you like it because one of mine. That's when Richter is totally obliterating. Like this guy stood no chance. He's a vampire, and he's like has the whole wig. He's got the whole nine. He's got the aristocratic blue blood shit, and he gets waxed. And he's like telling Richter's like, I'm fucking Richter Belmont, and I kill vampires. Who's fucking next? And then here's Little Boy Belmont.
Yeah. Before we get into that, because that's a big part of this, I have to mention that Maria, like, one thing I really like about her skill set is she's able to conjure animals. Yeah. And so you kind of see it on our back poster, but that cat is fucking awesome. Like, I love that cat that she conjures, and she's had a couple birds and a turtle, as you mentioned, get little baby Gamera. They all play a part, and it's very cool how they she utilizes them in battle. So that's a really interesting aspect I like about her. So as you said, Richter is like basically going to town. He's just flexing his muscle, ripping shit up. Drolta, she battles Richter a little bit, and they go back and forth. She's holding her own, of course. And then, like, just like out of nowhere, there's like this shadowy fog that rises up, and you hear this voice about baby Richter.
Yep.
And you could just see the terror in Richter's eyes. He's like, oh my God, no. And of course, Orox, who's already been talking with Drolta beforehand, or is it just before he actually talks? Or I think maybe it's before he just shows up. Yeah, he's just showing up.
Yeah.
So he shows up and he just has Richter on the run. Richter just melts down like scaredy cat runs. He's a little boy again. He's gone. He's like, we can't win. We gotta go, and he leaves. And of course, Annette, like, she's angry. Like, she actually holds a grudge a little bit even after they're done and get out of there. But so Richter leaves Annette, Marie, and I think Tara's down there with him as well. And yeah, I can't remember quite, like, because Olrox really doesn't battle anybody. He's just there to stir the pot. And he did what he was going to try to do, and that was scare Richter. And so the girls get out. The little boy Belmont. And so the girls like use like little smoke screens and stuff, and they're able to get out of there. Which then leads us to where Olrox is kind of introducing him, because I guess he's kind of expected from Bathory or something, because he introduces himself. At first, Drolta's kind of like flexing her muscle a little bit, like, who the hell are you? He's like, I'm Olrox. And she's like, oh. So there is this sense of like respect that she has to give to him, because he's been around a while, so he clearly has a reputation in the vampire world. And so I forget, maybe you can remind, I forget why he was actually summoned to her. Obviously he's supposed to kind of team up with them all, but I don't know if he was supposed to have a certain purpose himself, or if it was just to show strength or whatever it was.
Yeah, he was already known, like you said, in the vampire world. Even Elizabeth Bathory, but Elizabeth Bathory's gonna use him as the springboard into America, because he's already been there, and he's also, which is crazy, he's an Aztec. So Aztecs, that's way back, like freaking way back. So that's how old.
Yeah.
Yep, that's how old he is, and that's why. Yeah, he's basically just gonna be used as her her sword or her dragon into America, into America and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, because he's familiar with America, and Drolta has to kind of convince Olrox to kind of join in with Bathory, because she explains that Bathory is this ancient god, and she's very powerful, and she could really use someone like Olrox to infiltrate the Americas once they're done with Europe.
Yep.
And of course, again, they're still using the priest of the church, as an ally, even though they have no intentions of keeping that.
Yeah.
And then there's this huge point that comes up, and that's where Emmanuel, the lead priest, reveals that he's actually Maria's father.
Oh.
Yeah. And so that changes a lot of things, because of Maria, who is kind of angry at this point, because one, they were hiding it from her because their mother's Tara, of course, and then the other part is like she's angered about the church working with Bathory and everything else too. So she's very angry about this, and Richter is on the run somewhere. No one knows. He just really bolted the hell out of there before he ends up coming to a pub, which it was kind of funny, because when I saw Richter in the pub, I'm like immediately thinking to the other Belmont from the first series, starting out in the pub before getting in drunken brawls. So Richter's in the pub, and he starts to get heckled a little bit, and then he finds out that he has an old man there who ends up being Juste Belmont, who's his grandfather. And he thought he was the only one, like Richter thought he was the only one left. So go ahead and pick it up from there.
Yeah, so Richter is at the pub and he's totally like shaken. He's feeling he's feeling kind of, how do you say it, like a coward. He's kind of down on himself, and he's like, I'll do anything. I'll take freaking, I'll kill vampires for food or whatever. And that's when he gets that free meal. And then the the bartender's like, oh, here you go. It's by this guy over here by the corner. He's like, okay, cool. And then Richter eats like he hasn't eaten like in 3 days, and he's all freaking scarfing it. And then he walks up to this guy saying, thanks for dinner, this and that. And then, about just chattering. And then another low level vampire steps in and says, where's the old man? And this is funny, man, where Richter's like, oh shit. He's like, okay, I just, whatever. And then he's trying to go for his whip, and he doesn't have his whip. And he's like, where the fuck? And then the old man with the whip is like freaking, like even doing it almost better than he does. And he's like doing the whole thing, whatever, waxes this low level vampire like nothing. And then that's where, Richter is following, this old man out of the pub. And then Richter's like, who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? And this is where I was like, holy shit. I was like, no fucking way. I'm Juiced. And Juiced Belmont is also definitely from the lore. And I'm trying to remember, man, I should have done more freaking research on it. But Juiced Belmont was from one of the games. Let me just double check. It was from, I think it was Aria of Sorrow, but let me just check one. Juiced is a freaking, he was actually from the lore. That's what I liked about it. And he is from Harmony of Dissonance. There we go. Yes, he was from Harmony of Dissonance. And he's also, pretty distraught and everything. He's already old. I never thought they would show an older version of Juiced, but Juiced is, older. He can no longer use magic. He went straight to the story to Richter about how Richter lost his grandmother, how he lost his best friend, that the magic left him. And Juice is just that guy that he was so defeated by evil because he lost his wife, he lost his friends, he lost everybody he knew, and he just lives in a little hut outside of the village or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I was just really surprised, man. But damn, he was working that whip, bro, like even better than freaking Richter was. But yeah, but that's the crazy part, that I didn't think they would add Juiced. And when they added Juiced, I'm like, wow. I was like, holy shit, this is really going into the lore. So there's that. Yeah. I'll pass it back to you, bro.
Yeah, so obviously, they deal with the stuff in the bar, and then now we kind of get into episode 6, where Richter is starting to get to know his grandfather, but he's really angry because it's like, he starts talking about how his grandfather kind of abandoned his mother, and they were out there fighting vampires alone. And there's kind of like this back and forth, and then eventually Drolta sends like these other like minions and night creatures to come attack them.
Yeah.
And this is a big point for Richter, this battle, because they really are getting bested by these vampires. Like, they're just, as you said, Juice is not quite as strong as he once was, so he's really kind of just like baggage at this point, and Richter just can't take on. I think there's like 6 to 8 of them around him. So, and one of them, I think, I can't remember his name. He's like the lead vampire that's there, kind of cocky guy. Anyway, they got Richter on his knees at this point, and they're like, we're gonna killing you, and he's talking shit and all this. And then all of a sudden, man, like Richter just, he just gets enraged, and like this power just comes right out of him, and like he just starts tearing shit up. So I guess, as you point out earlier in the night, this heritage now with Belmont, from the ancestors and everything, is now not just able to fight with weapons, but they can have powers and magic powers that go with it. And we're seeing how Richter now is even more powerful than he was before. Even though he was a great fighter, now he's got magic at his disposal, which is really impressive.
Yep.
Then we learn a bit more too about Olrox, and we talked about how he had killed Julia because Julia had killed his lover, who he had turned a Mohican man into his vampire and then lover, and then of course Julia killed him, and that was what set Olrox off on the path of revenge. So we learn a little bit about that history with Olrox and what happened there with that. So really 6 is really just about covering Richter's emergence with the magic, and then of course we have the arrival of Elizabeth Bathory to France, and the public's like celebrating. Now, it was funny for me with this because when she arrives, I'm thinking most of the people there are still human, but as I learned, like the fans that are out there are all vampires. I'm like, well, no wonder everybody's so happy to see her. Like, it's like, but we do learn that Elizabeth, it kind of sticks with that history you were talking about. Obviously, if she has like young girls that are virgins or whatever, it's better for her power wise. So they play a part, like she had one person's daughter for a little while. Then they learn about Emmanuel's daughter, who's Maria. So Drolta kind of figures that out. So do you want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, like that part, I was like, I mean, Maria, I love the character, man. Really dug the character. Glad they did her justice, but she's so fucking stubborn, man. So I'm like, she doesn't listen, man. She doesn't listen. It's just like Richter in the beginning, man. Julia could have probably held off Allrock so they both would have been able to take off, but no, it's always a kid that has to mess it up. But I mean, it's as far as Drolta finding out, she's like, okay, now we have leverage. Now we got this priest by the balls, and we can use that. We can use Maria's leverage, and then Elizabeth, I mean, just like she's like, man, like this chick is like, she's like a vampire alcoholic, bro, or whatever, because she just keeps, she's like, give me more, give me more, give me more, and she talks about, yep, that looks badass too, man. It looks really badass, and she starts giving more information and more of the lore that how she's connected to Sekhmet, the Egyptian god, that actually her father is the sun. And that's why I was like, holy shit, it's a son, and that's why she's able to like she's able to sway a little bit of darkness, and stuff like that. That's what I like about her. And that's when also where after what's his name? That Templar / Knight, Mizrax, after Mizrax smashes Olrox and they start talking, and even Allrox is still trying to convince them, look, man, this chick is she's gonna backstab you, she's gonna betray you, finding out he finds out about Allrox's past, and then it was a crazy episode, man. And then of course Richter going back and finding, going back with Maria and Tara back to their place, and then it's just crazy, man. But it was a great episode, and then it just sucks that freaking, I mean, Maria set herself up, and now Drolta knows, that they have leverage over the Emmanuel. So
and that's basically where episode 7 starts kind of getting into, because now Elizabeth and Drolta realize that they can get Emmanuel to pledge his loyalty because they know about the daughter, which he didn't expect. And again, we see like the dark side of the religious aspect of this Castlevania series and the one before, where they're like, in this case, Emmanuel's willing to sacrifice his daughter to keep the sheep following him, which is really funny to me. But yeah, so they've planned that they tell Emmanuel, like, look, Bathory's like, pledge your loyalty to me, give me your daughter. And he's like, okay. Now, of course, we weren't really sure if they were going to be able to get her, but what ends up happening is Maria decides that, despite her anger, she really wants to have her father. Like, her mother explains the situation. It's really kind of a weird one. Yeah, yeah, it's a really dumbfounded moment. So Maria's like, I got to go try to get him out of there, to convince him not to work with the vampires. So, of course, she goes and tries to talk her dad out of this, and that easily puts her in the trap for Drolta and company to nab her up. And eventually, when they try to eventually Annette and them, Richter, I think, comes back, and he's a whole new man. Annette, he has to apologize to Annette for bolting, which is funny because the one thing about this, and I understand the story needs to be played out a certain way, but in some ways, like, they kind of made, and I understand some of the people that had some problems with this series, because I don't worry so much about the change of color of characters, but they did try to make some of the men very weak, in the case of Richter, which they didn't really show a lot of it for the women, which is a little weird for me. But for, like, even though I understand with Richter, there's a reason why, but they almost just kind of wanted to have it one-sided. Now, it wasn't big enough to really affect the series as a whole, which is great, because if you can do it without alienating your viewership, that's the way you want to go.
Yeah.
But I do understand, like, why some people might have looked at this and said, man, like, okay, Richter, we get it, there's some trauma there with that, but Annette had trauma, and yet she was more defiant. Like, they made her much more stronger in that route, and I'm like, technically she shouldn't be. Like, it's okay to be defiant, but she should still have that trauma, because she saw LeBlanc, and instead of being fearful, was just ready to go to war. So yeah, I kind of get that. It didn't really affect me in the long run, but I kind of see some of the points that people were making, because I don't know about you, I didn't see any of that kind of stuff in the original series that we watched. Like, you and I, we discussed the different seasons and whatnot, and I don't know if it's just because times are changing that they want to keep adjusting things for whatever reason, but I didn't think it was really needed. But yeah, again, it didn't really affect the series enough for me to hate it or anything. I did notice it. So I just kind of laughed it off and just went with it. But I don't know, how did you feel about that part of it? Like, some of the things that you saw going on in the series?
Well, it's like I said. I said earlier that a lot of the so-called hardcore Castlevania fans, get down, get down, get down. Like, they're freaking, yeah. Hey, get down, Odie. Yeah, he wants to be a part of the stream. No, it's like yeah, he no, it's, I understand where you're coming from. It's just that, like, I understand the change of the characters, why people get pissed off, but it is, if you get people, what people got to remember is that a lot of the original writers, producers, and were not a part of this Castlevania. There's maybe like one or two. It was just the directors that were really they had to take the helm over it, and and add, be producers and all that stuff. Odie, get down, boy, get down, go, get down, go, and over there. No, but they had to really. I understood I understand where you're coming from. I kind of did see that after I saw it a few more times, that they kind of made Annette more hard, or she was more hardened than Richter. But I mean, it is kind of true. They did kind of, like, not woke. It wasn't really woke, but they are still they are still giving girl power. Hey, I'm nothing wrong with girl power, man. I mean, I don't have nothing wrong with it. It's just that
no, and I don't either. It was kind of funny though, because in a lot of the cases, with the men, for whatever reason, they were all kind of like the ones that were the scaredy cats, or didn't rebound off of anything. So it just kind of caught me by surprise. I'm like, okay, well, maybe one or two, but it seems like all of them have like this empowerment that the men don't have anymore. And it was just kind of funny to me. But again, like it was such a small thing, and it only lasted for a little bit of probably really for that one episode, really. To the point that I'm like, okay, it's not even a big deal anymore because they've moved on from that. They've now gone back to the story itself and focused on all that. So that makes sense.
Well, as long as they didn't, as long as they didn't like oversaturate it, then yeah, it would have been pretty. It would be pretty like okay, that's it, man.
Right.
Okay, that's a little too much. Yeah.
Exactly. So now we have Annette and Richter and all them. They're planning on saving Edward because they know that it's him, and they want to get him out. He's in prison because Drolta and them realize that he is still human inside, and he's causing problems. And they don't know though that he's been kind of talking with other night creatures down there that are guarding him. And talking and actually talking to him. This is the interesting thing. We didn't see any of this during the night creatures in the first Castlevania series. These ones seem to be able to have a little bit of humanity still left in them, so they can talk to one another about like, yeah, I kind of remember what I used to be.
Yeah.
And so whenever Edward was singing, it was connecting with these creatures. So Annette and Richter and all, they're planning on going and saving them, but they're kind of interrupted when Ulrich shows up, and he actually has this like tomb, a book that, because apparently Emmanuel and them are building this machine that will create more night creatures faster for them, because they're of course Forge Master and whatever, so they're going to try bringing more night creatures. And so Ulrich brings this tomb to them to learn, where Tara's like reading up on it and understanding that okay, or is it Maria, one of them, I think it was Tara,
Tara,
trying to learn like how to stop it, because they know that this is something that would be very bad and destructive in the long run for them. Then we also kind of this is also a point where Richter and the rest of them are like, okay, well, Ulrich, it's really weird that he showed up. Like, he's my mortal enemy, and I don't know why he's here, and I don't really trust him, whereas, Tara and them are like, well, he did leave this, and I mean, who's going to do that? He's got to have some other motive. And I think, again, where you have this, I think we learned that Ulrich sees what's going on with Bathory and Drolta, and he's like, the closest thing comparison I can make is that if you remember from Blade, when Stephen Dorff's character is like, I want to become the blood god and release hell on earth. Udo Kier's character, who's like an ancient vampire, they've learned to work with humans to have a food source without being discovered. And I think Ulrich is just kind of like, I don't mind being a free spirit running the earth and just having my food here and there. I don't really want to obliterate it, so like Bathory does. So he's kind of like, I'm not really down with the like total master plan here. I kind of want to go and not be a part of that. So he gives them the tomb to try to help stop it. And I'll let you pick it up from there on your thoughts on what's going on with this.
Little boy Belmont. Just read the fucking book.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell I was really into the series, bro. But yeah, it was so Richter's like, I'm ready for you now, motherfucker. I'm ready for you this time. Let's fucking do it. And then see, but the thing is, like, prior to the mid part of, or we were saying in episode 7, Ursabet kind of like flexed her muscle to Elrock, saying like, look, motherfucker, you're just couple hundred, maybe 800, maybe 700 years old. I've been around since the beginning of time. So you're just my little dragon. You're like, hey, little dragon, here, come sit on my lap, little dragon, come sit on my lap. So he was just really like, he kind of like had to see it for himself. Like, this bitch ain't fucking around. Like, she's really fucking, like, she wants to annihilate the world. So, and she said the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire and the kings and whatever, all these prime ministers and everything. She will take total control, and Allrox is also kind of falling for that knight, kind of trying to, also kind of falling for him. So, and because he's against the hierarchy, he doesn't. He says, I don't. He's used to being dominant. He doesn't like to be dominated. So that's why he needs his space. But it's like you said, he's not freaking going on killing sprees. He's only like, here and there. He's more elegant than he looks. Of course, he's gay, but he's elegant. He's like, I'm not about.
Why you guys say that, man? Why you gotta be about the gay, man? Come on. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Yeah, he's LGBTQ. In other words, to say that.
Yeah. He's open-minded.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, all my homies for the LGBTQ community, I got love for you. But it's like he just really like he likes to have things his way, but he doesn't how do you say it? He doesn't flex his muscle or doesn't push his weight around in the world. He's like, I'll kill somebody maybe here 1 week, another week I don't do. He didn't even drink Julia Belmont's blood or kill little boy Belmont.
Right.
If he could have done it, but he didn't do it.
That was straight up revenge. That's all he wanted was revenge.
Yeah, like he probably wanted to thirst and drink it, but he's like, nah, hell no, I'm glad I killed this bitch, I don't need to drink her blood. But anyways, like you were saying, he just he found the hierarchy of that vampire let's say power struggle. So that's why he's like, oh shit, you know what? I need a Belmont. Now he needs Richter.
Yeah. Yeah, because in order to take Bathory down, he can't do it alone. As strong as Allrock says, he knows he's going to need help doing that in the long run. So we also, as Tara's studying the tomb, and she learns that the machine can't be destroyed, but you can send it back to hell. And it's really going to take a collaborative effort between her and Annette, who can actually do like her magic with the stone and steel and stuff. Mm-hmm. And of course, everyone else kind of being a distraction while they do this. And while all this is happening, Emmanuel, as we talked about earlier, he's willing to sacrifice Maria to Bathory. So he's already like, I'm sorry, this has got to happen. You got to go. And Maria is like devastated. She dumb little girl. Like, what the hell were you thinking? And then at the same time, Elizabeth has basically opened up the sun as an eclipse to plunge the land in darkness. Yep. And now shit's getting real, getting really crazy as we get into the final episode of season 1. She actually, as far as Elizabeth's concerned, she actually fully transforms into Sekhmet. And I'll let you take it from there as we kick off episode 8. Yeah,
when she when she did the whole eclipse thing and all of the freaking vampires started flying, and this is where Drolta showed her badass form as like a succubus kind of thing. That was really freaking cool. And then when Ursabet finally shows her true form, it's like it wasn't a form I was expecting. I was kind of like, oh wow, that's a little it was a little like, I mean, it wasn't unsettling, but yet it was more for improv, I guess, so it made sense, and I dug it. I thought it looked cool. Just it showed her with a mane, had the cage. They call her a lioness now. I know why. So or now we know why they call her lioness. She's the lioness or whatever, and she's just like, what she says though. The whole world is gonna be, we're gonna be plunged in the darkness, and then while that's happening, then there's the battle where they go to save right in the nick of time. Tara is going to save, and they save Maria. They start battling inside of the church, and then they save time for Annette. They're keeping the other vampires and the night creatures busy, and then that's when Tara is, or they're already doing what their plan. They're going with their plan. The plan's working fine, and then they're then all of a sudden, that's when Elizabeth comes makes it to the church and starts It's just like she just totally like it's like she's like on a whole other level, with supposedly like a god. And you know Richter tries, that's when you know like Tara's trying to keep the plan going, but then she sees Elizabeth coming in, and then Richter tries to hold her off, couldn't do it with his magic. And then even the knight try to do something, Mizrak. And then freaking we see Allrox teleports him away. And then and then Maria's like Maria's magic and her spirit animals are freaking, they're very powerful. But I mean, Elizabeth just kills them all like nothing. And I'm like, glad little Gamera wasn't one of those. But it was like, but it was getting intense, bro. I was like really like into it. I was like, holy shit, shit's getting freaking real. And then this is where Mizrak and Allrox is like, and Mizrak's literally trying to, almost begging Allrox, come on, come help us. You're a powerful vampire. You're very powerful. It's like, I'm not powerful enough. Even Allrox admits it. It's like, I'm powerful, but I'm not powerful enough. And he's like, come on, you this and that. He's like, he starts. This is where Allrox starts. So he's falling for, the knight, for Mizrak. And he says, I don't want you to die. Even tears are coming out. I was like, come on, bro. I was like, really? And even Mizrak,
the whole free spirit part of Allrox, that's what we were kind of talking about. So his motive really at this point is he just wants another partner, and he really is in love with Mizrak, and he's trying to get him away. He wants to go away and get away from the whole thing with, he doesn't even care about Bathory or what's going to happen. He's like, that's probably why he wanted Richter there, to kind of handle all that baggage so he can take Mizrak and get the hell out of there. Then we also find out that when Annette's trying to save Edward, he's kind of like saying, you know what, I'm going to stay behind because I think I can help the rest of these night creatures awaken from their slavery or enslavement, basically. So she loses that while she's trying to then go down to the deeper catacombs and send the machine back to hell. It's taking longer than usual. And of course, when Elizabeth shows up, she just starts like destroying shit and tearing it down, stopping everybody from doing that. Anyway, we get to a point where no one can really defeat Elizabeth. Like, we just kind of get to this no-win scenario.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth wants to take Maria as basically a slave, kind of like what she does with all the young ones that she has. And then but Tara says, you know what, how about you take me instead? And of course she's more powerful than Maria, but she wants to save her daughter. Emmanuel, thought that he can save Maria, but that wasn't going to happen. Elizabeth was going to take her.
Yeah.
So then what happens is Tara takes Maria's place and is bitten by Elizabeth for a minute. And then, of course, Tara tells Richter to take Maria and flee, like, get out of here, run. Yep. And so they're now on the run, thinking that maybe they'll get away. Emmanuel thought, okay, my daughter's safe. And of course, I like the one moment where, at first when Tara offered herself, Elizabeth was like, well, it's no good if Emmanuel doesn't love you. And she's like, he does love me. And, there's this point where Emmanuel's like in tears and he says, yeah, I do. So she ends up taking Tara and the rest of them are fleeing. And Emmanuel thinks, well, okay, now my daughter's safe, but that's not the case. He finds out now what, Allrox was telling everybody about how she was going to betray him. It's going to happen. So Drolta picks up a couple of critters and goes after Richter and them. And it comes down to my favorite part of the whole series here at the end. It's like I just sported a Woody at the end when it happened. I was like,
right there.
Yeah. Drolta is on the chase. She's very powerful. You likely are looking at, we're saying, I don't think anybody can beat her, even as strong as Richter is. It's going to be a tough fight, even if they could, but she's just very powerful. And as she's getting ready to pounce on him, man, she gets impaled and killed by something. And I'm going to leave it to you to explain why that is.
Fucking Alucard. I was like, dude, I was like, literally, I was yelling. It's like, Alucard, no fucking way, no fucking way. I was like, finally, how long did it take for these motherfuckers to bring him in here and shit? You know, I was like, it's gonna take a while, but I wasn't, because I literally thought that Dralta stabbed freaking Richter.
Yeah, because they wanted you to believe that. Yeah, they wanted you to believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they saw, and then when you saw freaking his, when you saw Alucard's emblem, his what do you call it? They call it like an antique sword, you know, his enchanted sword, and the same exact way it looked in the first Castlevania, dude. I was like yelling, bro. I was like, no fucking way, no fucking way, and then even the music in the background was all like freaking dramatic when he came in and shit, and then Dralta's just like, oh, and then she just freaking, he kills her. He literally stabbed her right through the heart, and she just falls right there, falls on the floor, and then Alucard turns, and and his sword goes like that right next to him, and he's like, I am Alucard. And I was right there, bro. And then right there, it was amazing. And then now I throw it back to you, bro. I'll throw it back to you. The finishing touches.
Yeah, that's basically how it was. I mean, the minute it happened, I was same as you. I'm like, okay, is Richter impaled or is she? And then like when I saw the look on her, I still was kind of a bit confused. Like I knew, okay, well, where did it come from? But I knew it had to be somebody strong. Like there's just no way, because Drolta's a badass in her own right. And then when they revealed Alucard, I'm like, oh my god, dude! Like that is so awesome. I said, now Elsbeth and the rest of them have done fucked up. This boy is here to not playing with anybody. He's here to take some names and kick some ass. Like,
yep.
The minute he like announces like who he is, like there is this bit of confusion because of course so many years have passed. But when he says like, you know, yeah, I'm Alucard, the son of Dracula, everyone knows that name. So it's like, oh my god, shit's gonna get real. And of course, the season ends. So it's like, no.
I was like, I even hate it now, man. I even hate Netflix now because it says only one more freaking episode left. Like, don't tell me that shit. Like, don't tell me that, man.
Yeah, they kept telling me like, okay, you got 2 left. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be bad. And then of course when it happened, Neko and I were sitting there watching it, and it's like we knew it was gonna end. We just like, oh, okay, Alucard's there. Yeah, they're gonna end it. They're not gonna fucking go anymore right now. They're gonna save all that shit for the next season. I'm like,
yep, he's the hero. He's the hero. Alucard is the hero. See, I haven't got the shirt and everything, bro. I had to get the shirt and everything.
Yeah, so, Neko loves that shirt.
Yeah, it's it was perfect way to end the last episode, man. And I'm sure everybody freaking who's a huge fan of it, like us, like we are, bro. I was, like I said, I was off the wall, man. I was like, holy shit, it's Alucard. And I kind of figured they're gonna bring him in, but I thought they would bring him in sooner, but they brought him in at the perfect time. So they already confirmed they're going to make a season 2.
Oh, they have to. I mean, dude, you know how many people would be pissed if they didn't?
Yeah, I'm just saying, man. That's what I found out today. You know, I barely heard that they were going to make It's like, I knew they were going to make one. It's just that I was just like, holy shit, you know, that was fast. You know, I mean, it only got released. What, I think in late September. So I was like, holy shit, you know.
Yeah,
late September. So I was like, it's great, man. But dude, Alucard was great. All the characters I don't care what they say. Like, a lot of people are giving hate to Annette because she's a different color and she, you know,
about that.
Yeah, I didn't, you know, her. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like we brought up the fact that, you know, the girls had a little more manliness than the man, but yeah. I mean, it was very seldom. It wasn't like overkill. Like, if it was overkill, then a lot of people would be like, okay, this is a little whatever. But I mean, but Richter more than made up for it when he got his magic back, and you know, you know, when they added Juice, you know, when they added from, you know, what do you call it, Harmony of Dissonance, I was like, dude, man, that is so Like all the characters were cool, man. I mean, just of course the priest, bro. The priest is so, I don't know what he's so scared of, bro, because he just hears that he heard about, oh, they're starting to freaking decapitate. They're starting to put priests to the guillotine. Like,
yeah,
I'm like, well, shit, bro. It's the French Revolution, bro. I mean, you're in the wrong place, then, But I mean, it's you're in the wrong place. Go to fucking America. They won't kill you there. But
right.
But I don't know, man. It's just a thing with Europe. I guess it's a Europe thing. No pun intended. My boys, my German brother and my UK brother, Kaiju Goodness and the Lieutenant freaking mean it. But
I think the guillotine was a French thing. What's that? Yeah, it was a French thing. It was something they did a lot. So again, it's a little bit of historical accuracy there with that part of it.
but
Yeah,
I
think the only game that I ever really played in the series was Symphony of Night, which I really loved.
Mhm.
But I really had a lot of fun with what they've done with the Castlevania series, both the first installment and this one. Like, I'm having a blast with it. Like, it's just so great. So in that aspect, like, I would say this first season is a big success. Like, I'm still very much invested. I love the characters, despite like what we talked about, just the small little details there with that. As long as they don't stray from that, like they can do that, as long as they do what we talked about, where they just kind of sprinkle it in, it's not going to matter. I don't care about Annette's color. That's the dumbest thing to be mad about. I know in some cases when it comes to either movies or comics, when you expect a character to look a certain way, that you kind of like say to yourself, why did they do that? But like, I don't know enough about Annette to give a shit, so it doesn't matter. But like, as far as like the actress, the character, how it's portrayed on screen, it's fine. Like, I thought it's a great, strong character. I like it. I like the backstory. It works. Yeah, I don't have any problems with that at all. Like, and even the other stuff that I talked about, I'm not that worried about. Like, I just this has been such a fun trip and journey with this series and the one before it, that I'm just having way too much fun to really care about the small, minor details of stuff like that. So, another 10 out of 10 for me, and right now in terms of like my enjoyment with this. What about you? How do you feel about what you saw this season with the first one?
Oh man, I mean, I was expecting a decent series, but I wasn't expecting it to like really be like to take a hold of me as it did from like the very first one, the one from 2017. But man, it's just when they started act, like I said, when they added different people, and Juiced wasn't even a part of Rondo of Blood, which that's what I see. But that's what people don't understand. A lot of these real hardcore gamers are thinking, stay by the story, stay. Dude, you got to make it believable, man. You got to add more depth. You got to add depth to a series. You got to add depth to characters. You got to add some more characters. To make not always adding too many characters is gonna make things like magical, but adding Juiced and then adding Julia, adding Tara, and then adding Annette as a sorceress was trust me, man. Annette from the Rondo of Blood video game was just a damsel in distress. She was useless, man. Not trying to be a dick, but she was useless. And why would I want? I'm not trying to say things against women, but why would I want a woman who can't do? Why would I want a woman who can't do nothing at my back? With vampires and freaking monsters. I'm just, I'm not saying in a bad way. I'm just trying to be funny, but it's just that. I mean, it's not funny to some people. I don't give a shit, but but it's like it's just a funny thing, man. It's just it's a video game. If it's a movie, if it was a movie that was already done, I would understand people getting pissed off. But it's a video game, man. It's a video game.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't
So
think it
that's
really
what I'm
matters too much from that point of view, since it's already like a video game and it could be anything, really.
man. But making a video game this interesting and this good into a series, like, yeah, man, 10 out of freaking 10.
Yep, I agree. I really loved it. So yeah. So what do you have coming up? Anything at all? I know you were taking a little bit of break. I know you've been playing a lot more games online. How's that been going for you?
Yeah, I'm slowly getting back into gaming, man. Just the older games, I'm really rusty, bro, and I keep dying and keep dying and keep dying, and And it's like okay, I think I'll only go an hour because I'm already kind of getting freaking frustrated, so I can't go that long. But no, but I also I am gonna take a pretty long extended break from just big panel live streams like the last one. Even the last one we did was great, bro. The last Godzilla versus Mothra was a great freaking stream though, even though a lot of stuff didn't work as we planned. But that was a great stream. But I just need to get the right equipment, and when I can get the right equipment, I'll start doing bigger panels again. But so far, I still got the one-on-one coming, which is just gonna be basically me and anybody else from the Sci-Fi Society, outside of Sci-Fi Society, you know, and like me and you gonna run Dog Soldiers, and then yeah, man. But that's all I got coming up. I know if you're still down to do the Rise of the Lycans, but well, if you want, we can do it on your channel.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, totally fine with that.
Then, but that's pretty much it, man. Just my one-on-one. Gonna keep running some live streaming gaming, and then take a break. I have a lot of appointments again this month, like physical, like as far as getting my neck and back checked. But that's all I got coming up, man. Just one-on-one. The one-on-one series that probably won't be till the end, maybe end of this month. But that's all I got. That's all I got so far, man.
Yeah, I know that tomorrow I've got another episode of Poetic Carnage. I'll be having Poet, of course, as well as a special guest, Crypt from Metal Mania. We're going to talk some sports. I know a lot of people don't really care about that too much on this end, but that's pretty much all I got going on. Neko's going to be out of town next week. I've got to start looking into seeing what I'm going to do. I know I got my top 5 as usual. Might do some trailer reactions, look around, see what's out there. That's true. Yeah. So yeah, tomorrow, we'll probably watch it tonight.
What is up, Neko?
She says hi. Yeah. So we're actually, if we anybody saw it last night, I interviewed Jose Prendez, the writer director,
Media
Glitch. Chaos. Yep. And he's got a new movie called The Exorcist coming out. So he sent us a screener premiere that we're going to watch tonight and do a review of that. So we'll have that out tomorrow too. So
that's cool, man.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. Otis says hi. Say hi, Otis. Say hi.
Otis dog.
Yeah, man. But yeah, man. But yeah, just I'll keep you, of course, updated on the one-on-one, and let me know when you want to run the Rise of the Lycans, and just let me know, brother. Again, thank you for the invite. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to be on your live streams, brother.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it, man. I love having you on and your knowledge and everything. It's so great to have, and appreciate your support and your friendship. And yeah, so much credit for you, my friend. For the rest of you, hope you all enjoyed the stream. If you have any comments, your thoughts on the series, if you saw it already so far this season, let us know what you thought. Any agreements or disagreements, just keep it civil. Hit the like button for me if you would. Subscribe if you really like the channel content. It helps, of course, with the algorithm, and appreciate your support as always. For the rest of you, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a great night. Go subscribe to the Sci-Fi channel. He might be kind of cutting back a little bit, but he's still putting out content, and support this man. He does a lot of great work. And he's our friend, as Neko says, of course.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Have a great night. And again, thank you, Sci-Fi. Hang around, buddy. I want to say goodbye to you after this.
Yes, sir.